Again, as in 1941, the Soviet people tasted the bitterness of retreat. They withdrew to the east to save themselves from slavery and destruction. One of the greatest battles of the Second World War began on July 17, 1942. In the second half of July, the enemy pressed the Soviet troops back to the lesser bend of the River Don. A major battle was fought there in the steppes. The Soviet forces fought valiantly, inflicting heavy losses on the enemy. The Nazis called the road to the Volga the Death Road. And still, by intensifying the strength of their blows, the enemy reached the Don over a wide front. They crossed the river at many points. Division after division poured into the steppe country beyond the Don. Meantime, the German fascist command on the Caucasian sector sent units from 3 armies against the forces of the Southern Front. The enemy was in a hurry to capture the grain of the Kuban, and even more important, the Caucasian oil fields. Bomb blasts and the thunder of Nazi tanks shook the Kuban and Don steppes for hundreds of miles around. Soviet command made an all-out effort to check the advance of the Germans. At that time, the enemy still had the advantage in the air. But Soviet airmen were fearless in battle. They gave their troops good support from the air. Regardless of losses, the enemy pushed on. Stalingrad was in mortal danger. The local party committee called civilians and soldiers to the city's defense. Young and old helped build defenses. Day after day, more than 100,000 Stalingraders worked putting up fortifications on the front 400 kilometers long. Soldiers worked alongside the townspeople. Stalingrad's factories were turned into fortresses. The open hearth shops of the Krasny Oktябrь works smelted steel for the front. Tanks now rumbled out of the gates of the Stalingrad tractor works. German shock troops headed for the city from two sides. The 4th Tank Army had been turned back from the Caucasian sector and was to have attacked from the south, but it met fierce resistance from the Soviet forces. The 6th German Army struck from the west, and after a 3-day battle effected a partial breakthrough to the Volga near the industrial settlement of Renok. Fighting broke out at the immediate approaches to the city. Pressure was increased all along the front. Nazi forces had come right up to the city. They cut off the railway connecting Stalingrad with Moscow. The enemy already had streets and buildings under observation. Victory, the Nazis were certain, was already in their hands. But the Stalingrad Defense Committee and the Regional Party Committee were resolute in their determination to defend the city. The main role in the defense was played by troops led by General Yeremenko, commander of the front, and military council member Khrushchev. During those critical days, the people of Stalingrad joined civil defense battalions. A supreme effort was made to withstand the enemy onslaught. The enemy set August 23, 1942, as the date of a massive attack from the air to smash the city's defenses. Hundreds of planes with black crosses on their wings carried bomb loads to Stalingrad. But the frontline city was not taken by surprise. Vigilant watch was kept over the skies above the Volga. The anti-aircraft system was ready for action. Fighter pilots under General Flukin made bold attacks on German bombers. And many a fascist plane failed to carry out its mission. the enemy triumphed. 2,000 bomb hits in one day. By the end of the day, the Hitlerites had lost 90 planes. German flyers boasted they had turned the city into a fiery hell. Arms and ammunition arrived in the battle area. Red Army reinforcements approached the city along the Volga and on roads across the steppes. They had been sent to defend the Volga stronghold, and they took up positions on the front line. The air raid was the signal for a general and decisive attack by the Germans. They were in the city and certain of victory. Suddenly, the Soviet forces rose up from the ashes and rushed into a counterattack. The resistance grew stronger by the hour. Hitler had congratulated his generals too soon. Too soon had they made lithograph stones boasting that the city on the Volga had fallen. Too soon had they struck this medal in honor of the city's capture. The attention of the world press was focused on the battle on the Volga. In September, the troops of the Stalingrad and southeastern fronts struck a number of counter-blows that weakened the enemy. In the city itself, General Shumilov's 64th Army and General Chuikov's 62nd Army waged a heroic defense. To the north and south of Stalingrad, the armies led by Generals Kuznetsov, Kozlov, Malinovsky, Tolbukhin, and Trufanov engaged in bitter fighting. While attacking the Volga stronghold, the Germans also continued their advance on the North Caucasus, whose grain and oil were such a great temptation. Here they managed to press back the Soviet forces and enter Krasnodar. Special service units were sent into action against the German mountain troops. fierce clashes high up amid cliffs and crevices. The enemy's way to the southern slopes of the mountains was barred. At Stalingrad, too, the German offensive slowed down. They broke into the city, but did not have the strength to take it. Meantime, the Soviet forces continued to build up their defenses. Their raging, burning hatred of the enemy proved stronger than death. The events of these unforgettable days were filmed by Soviet cameramen at the front.